My Lords, I thank my noble friend, Baroness Neville-Rolfe, for securing this ever-topical debate ahead of the budget. Public sector productivity has long been a special interest of mine, having published my first book on this topic back in 2006, which I'm pleased to say can still be bought second-hand on Amazon for a very modest £3.29. Being interested in this subject, I was pleased to hear the Chancellor announce in the public spending statement in July that she'd be launching a drive to boost public sector productivity. This is not a novel idea, of course. In the 2000s, we had the Gershon Efficiency Review. In the 2010s, my noble friend, Lord Cameron of Chipping Norton, launched the Productivity Plan. And last year, the previous government announced plans to save billions of pounds through greater use of data and AI. Public sector productivity is, therefore, a perennial issue that governments of all stripes have tried and largely failed to improve in recent decades. Because time is limited, I'd like to focus my remarks on one specific area: the impact of compressed hours and a 4-day working week on public sector productivity. In recent months, we've heard ministers mention 4-day working weeks as part of the broader debate around flexible working, with the noble lady, Baroness Smith and Malvern Hill, stating that, and I quote, "Flexible working is actually good for productivity, including the kind of flexible working that involves compressed hours." My Lords, I think we can all agree that if a 4-day working week was demonstrated to improve efficiency across the public sector and save taxpayers' money, then it's something we should all support. But the evidence for this is thin. Take, for example, South Cambridgeshire District Council, whose flagship trial of a 4-day working week concluded earlier this year. The original report analysing the trial suggested that 22 of 24 key performance indicators had either improved or remained the same, and that cost savings had been achieved by having to recruit fewer agency workers. This all sounded very encouraging. But when the correspondence between the Council and the consultancy evaluating the scheme was released, following a Freedom of Information request, a very different picture emerged, which suggested that senior council officials had edited the review of the scheme to make it sound more positive. For example, a section which detailed how over half of employees had struggled to access council offices during this period was deleted, and the actual cost savings were significantly less than the ones published. Equally, there's no evidence from the private sector to suggest that a 4-day working week can help improve productivity. Bigger businesses, the ones most organisationally comparable to government departments and local authorities, are certainly not rushing to embrace compressed hours or the 4-day working week. If these changes were so beneficial to productivity, surely businesses, driven by profit maximisation and shareholder value, would have seen the light and taken up this for their employees. My Lords, if we are to proceed further down this route of a compressed hours and a 4-day working week, we must have more concrete evidence that will improve productivity. I look forward to hearing the concluding remarks of the noble Baroness Lady Blake of Leeds. Having been born and brought up in Gledhow, an area of Leeds which I know is close to her own heart, I know firsthand from my regular visits there still that under her leadership she ran a very efficient and effective council. I'd be very grateful if the noble minister could explain what evidence the government is using to base their assumptions that compressed hours or a 4-day working week would lead to greater public sector productivity, and if there is no evidence base, why the government is encouraging this course of action. I hope we can all agree that improving public sector productivity and ensuring that taxpayers get good value for money should be the forefront of our minds when considering this important question.